I was astonished by the subject line of the email from Ms. Manila Folder, Megacorp's new head of human resources, cross-dress for success. I opened it and read, "Your team has been chosen to participate in an all-day diversity, equity, and inclusion offsite by our DI staff. Our goal is to teach you about male supremacy and female submission, and why both are equally evil. Come prepared to assume a new gender identity for a day. It'll be fun and beneficial for your career at Megacorp." I'd heard all about our DI staff and wasn't impressed. In the words of a work friend I won't name, DI? No, it's how companies die dimwits indoctrinating everyone. But it was a priority for our new CEO, Danielle Boone. She replaced an oafish male CEO who got into #MeToo trouble for abusing his admin. The email explained that my department, marketing, would be the first to participate in the offsite. Other departments would follow ours. I was the lowest layer of management, a production coordinator, overseeing a small team of producers who created collateral for campaigns. Later that day, I joined the rest of the team at a meeting where Ms. Folder explained how the offsite would work. There were 20 of us, 15 women and 5 men, including me. The head of marketing, Debbie Ditz, was on maternity leave and declined the invite to join us on Zoom. "It'll take place in the conference facility out at corporate," she said. We drones worked in grubby offices downtown. The bigwigs had fancy digs out by the suburban ring highway that circled the city. "We start at 8 sharp, we'll spend an hour correcting your appearance, and then the program will begin." A designer named Dave raised his hand. "How do you mean, correcting our appearance?" "Males and females will switch roles. Since you're in marketing, most of your colleagues are female, and they'll wear men's suits and ties. Males will wear classic business attire for women, skirts, blouses, hose, and heels. We'll take your measurements at the end of this meeting and provide appropriate clothes in your size." "We have to wear a skirt?" Dave asked. "Why?" "Most of the women don't anymore. Men need to understand the challenges facing women in the office," Ms. Folder said. "It all starts with clothing. Short, tight skirts, flimsy blouses, high heels, all of these make it harder for women to be taken seriously. We want you to know how that feels, just as we want the women to know how it feels to wear heavy clothes that cover everything except your head and hands. One hypothesis we want to test is that a change in attire will make women less likely to feel cold in the office. We're doing this just so the girls don't feel cold," Dave said. "They can wear a sweater now if they want." "Not with every outfit," she said. "Dave, you're not exhibiting the positive attitude that we want to see at this offsite. Our DI consultants planned this event very carefully, and we need your complete cooperation to make it a success." At her mention of DI, Dave shut up. An account manager named Sophie raised her hand. "What about our hair? What about makeup and jewelry? Do we have to look like men?" "Good question. If you have long hair, wear it in a low bun and back. No makeup or perfume, and no jewelry except wedding or engagement rings." "Yuck," said Sophie. "We'll look the way I feel on Monday mornings." "Historically, males haven't been expected to be beautiful," Ms. Folder said. "We want you to feel free of this obligation at the offsite. You should be judged by what you do and say, not how you look." "That'd be a nice change," said Priya, a stunningly gorgeous account manager. "We hope so," Ms. Folder said, "and we hope the males discover how burdensome it is to have to wear constrictive underwear and sexy clothes, paint your face and nails, and deal with long hair every day. We'll have wigs for them." "Wait a minute," said Pedro, another account manager. "I'm not going to do any of that. You can't make me pretend to be a girl at work." "I agree," said Hector, a media scheduler. "It's totally inappropriate to make us do that." It's not up to you, the HR chief said. The DI team, as I said, has researched this very carefully and is recommending a program that has been used at many other companies. Which ones? Did they see an improvement afterwards? Asked Dave. An improvement in what? Pedro said. Yeah, what are we trying to improve by doing this? Hector said. Please, gentlemen, this isn't helpful, Ms. Folder said. We're trying to improve diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity, by familiarizing each gender with the constraints other genders face. Equity, by eliminating historical inequality between genders. And inclusion, by giving underrepresented groups a stronger presence on your team. Men are the underrepresented group on our team, Dave said. That's quite enough, Dave, she said. Women are underrepresented in the business world in general, and the inequities we're trying to correct are widespread. Ask any of the women, and they'll tell you they feel held back and repressed by the way males dominate the culture in the office. What do you mean, dominate the culture? Asked Boris, our search engine optimization guy. Our CEO is a woman. Our department head is a woman. 3/4 of our team are women. How can males possibly be dominating the culture in marketing? I said, that's enough. I have more details I need to cover and we're running short on time. She read us a bunch of administrivia that she said would be in a follow-up email, so I didn't listen until she got to the bit about underwear. The clothing that you will be issued will include appropriate underwear for the role you will play during the off-site, she said. Are you kidding? Pedro said. You want us to wear women's underwear? Just for one day, she said. You'll experience the sexist nature of the undergarments that society forces women to wear. What do you mean, society forces women to wear? Dave said. It's what women choose to wear. Men have nothing to do with it, except for a few luxury designers. I'm sure as hell not going to wear panties or whatever. Hector said. That's quite enough of that attitude. Ms. Folder said. I can't force you to wear anything, but if you refuse to participate in this off-site, it will affect your upcoming annual evaluation. That shut up the other men, though they grumbled about having their chest, waist, and hips measured at the end of the meeting. I was glad I hadn't joined in their argument. Annual evaluations were all about raises, and I couldn't afford to jeopardize mine. The rent on my studio apartment was going up. I decided then and there that I would fully participate in the off-site, especially if the other men didn't. The prospect of a bigger raise wasn't the only reason I was willing to take part. To be honest, I was probably the only man in the room willing to contemplate the thought of having to dress as a woman. It was shameful to admit it, but I'd always had a weakness for women's underwear, and occasionally slept in panties and a nightgown at home. I'd never worn full drag. A bit of underwear was enough to stimulate the only sex life I had at the moment, but the prospect of doing so didn't bother me as strongly as it bothered Dave, Pedro, Hector, and Boris. I expected the women in the department would make fun of us, and decided to stave off the ridicule by looking as realistic as possible in whatever they wanted us to wear. That night, I shaved my legs, arms, and chest, and planned to shave my face especially closely in the morning. I couldn't do anything about my hair, but Miss Folder had mentioned wigs for us. I wasn't foolish enough to wear my own panties to the off-site, but I would wear whatever undies they gave us. I wondered what the other men would do. On the morning of the off-site, I presented my clean-shaven 36-30-35 figure at corporate at 8 on the dot and found myself the only man in the room. 16 women, including Ms. Folder and me. Where are the other men? I asked. Apparently they have decided not to participate, she said. They'll have to accept the consequences. I'm pleased that you showed up. Are you going to dress appropriately? You mean, as a woman? Do I really have to? If I'm the only guy here? My reluctance wasn't totally feigned. This was going to be so embarrassing. Yes, you do. I have to report back on how many men complied with the clothing requirement, and I'd rather report 20% than 0. Oh, all right, if I have to. That's the right attitude. The women will use the dressing room next door to change. Since you're the only male, you can use the unisex restroom. Here are your clothes. She handed me a garment bag. Do you know how to put them on? I had a pretty good idea, but didn't want to say so. If I run into trouble, can someone help me? Certainly. Knock 3 times on the door of the dressing room, and I'll come help you. Here's a hint. Put on the bra backwards so you can fasten it in front of you, and then turn it around and put your arms through the straps. I have to wear a bra. Of course. It's part of a woman's attire. But I don't have breasts. There are breast forms in the garment bag. Slide one into each cup. They'll make your slip and blouse fit better. What about the wig? When you're dressed, I'll help you with the wig and makeup. And perfume. Perfume. Is that really necessary? Yes. A lady mustn't smell like a men's locker room. Oh, all right. I took the garment bag into the restroom, hung it on a coat hook, locked the door, and unzipped the bag. Inside it I found a set of women's business attire. A clear plastic bag held underwear, pink panties, a matching bra, 2 breast forms, a white slip, and a pair of pantyhose. Hangers held a short black skirt, a pink blazer, and a frilly white blouse. In the bottom of the garment bag I found a pair of black patent pumps with 3-inch heels, a brunette wig, a black patent handbag containing various items of makeup, and a velvet case containing a pearl necklace, bracelet, ring, and clip-on earrings. My heart pounded as I stripped off my male clothing and got dressed as an office girl. Panties first, then the bra and forms. I'd watched videos of women putting on pantyhose and knew what to do, and handled the hose delicately to avoid running them. The slip came next, then the blouse, skirt, and jacket. I put on the jewelry and immediately discovered that clip-on earrings are a pain. I surveyed myself in the bathroom mirror. From the neck down, I looked like a sexy secretary tottering on her high heels. From the neck up, though, I needed work. I left the restroom and knocked 3 times on the door of the dressing room. The buzz of conversation on the other side of the door paused. The door opened, and Ms. Folder stepped out into the hall. She was wearing a man's navy blue suit and brown wingtips. She'd caught her hair into a bun low on the back of her head. Before the door closed behind her, I caught a glimpse of the women on the team wearing similar suits in masculine shades of black, navy, and gray, with their hair pulled back in the same way. "Oh, Louis, look at you," Ms. Folder said. "You're totally cute. Let's go put your face and hair on." She led me into the unisex restroom and removed all the cosmetics from my purse. I locked the door and faced the mirror, struck again by the difference between my face and the rest of me. "Nails first, so they can dry," she said. She tested at the state of my fingernails, filed them, and painted them with bright red nail polish. "Makeup next." She deftly applied foundation, powder, eyeliner, eyeshadow, mascara, blush, lip liner, lipstick, and lip gloss. My lips matched my nails. As she worked, I saw my face turn into that of a woman, a short-haired woman. The transformation was remarkable. I was naturally blessed, if that's the right word, with a slender figure and delicate facial features, and the clothes and cosmetics created a convincing illusion of femininity. "Now, the wig," she said. She drew an elastic cap of something like pantyhose material over my hair, creating a smooth surface, and then drew the wig over my head and pulled it into place. She quickly brushed it into waves that hung down to my fake nipples. Standing back, she squirted a spray of perfume into the air. "Walk through it," she said. The floral scent settled on me, my new hair, and my new clothes. I smelled as sweet as a flower garden in spring. "Take a look in the mirror," she said. I stared at myself. Fully dressed as a woman, I was cute. "You are adorable," Ms. Folder said. "I can't call you Louis when you look like that. For today, your name is Lisa. Let's go introduce you to the ladies, I mean, men." "What do I need to do?" I asked, terrified by the prospect of having to face a roomful of real females when I'd be the only one in a skirt. "Smile and stand like this," she said, and gave me a 3-minute lesson in how to stand, walk, and behave like a woman. "That'll have to do for now. Okay, Lisa, it's time for you to rejoin the team." She led me into the dressing room, where 15 female marketing employees awaited me, all dressed like men at a funeral. At the sight of me, they burst into cheers. Cheers, not laughter. It took me by surprise. I thought they were making fun of me, until I heard comments. "Oh my God, he's gorgeous. So cute. I can't believe he's a boy. She's a girl now. She's got boobs. She's wearing everything, including panties." Ms. Folder silenced them, introduced me as Lisa for the day, and said that my pronouns would be she and her. She said that unlike the other males in the department, I'd done a superb job of preparing for my transformation. "Please notice Lisa's legs," she said. "Her forearms. The V of her blouse. No ugly male hair. And guess what she's wearing?" Someone said, "Panties?" "That's right," Ms. Folder said. "Lisa is dressed entirely appropriately for her role today. Under her office attire, she's wearing panties, a bra, a slip, and pantyhose." Giggles, or were they snickers? "In the absence of her male colleagues, we've had to revise the off-site program a bit," she said. "The DI staff will be busy interviewing the men who decided not to attend, so I'll be running things here." She explained how we would spend the day. I was going to be Lisa, the marketing intern, the lowest person on the totem pole. I would be asked to do clerical tasks and run errands for the men on the team. They were divided into 3 groups of 5 to brainstorm a new marketing campaign for Megacorp. As a global conglomerate in multiple unrelated lines of business, our employer faced a branding challenge. Today, we were supposed to brainstorm solutions from the viewpoint of a gender different from our own. Ms. Folder told the women to behave like men by favoring technical solutions, aggressively pushing their point of view, and feeling free to interrupt each other. After spending my mornings supporting the brainstorming groups as the token female, I would be expected to serve and clean up after a catered lunch. Only then would I be given a chance to come up with my own new marketing campaign for Megacorp. At the end of the day, all of the brainstorming groups would present their ideas to the rest of the team. I would present my ideas last. "We don't expect your ideas to be good, because your housekeeping duties will leave you with less time to prepare," Ms. Folder said. "Also, you're a woman, so frankly, we men can't expect you to be as smart or analytical as we are." "Hey," I said, breaking out of my role as Lisa. "That's unfair. I've never told any of you I think you're not as smart as me." "We're not reacting to you personally, Lisa," Ms. Folder said. "We're reacting to the way men tend to treat us." "I don't treat women that way," I said. "Don't get all emotional, Lisa," she said. "Remember, you're a woman today, so of course you can't treat anyone the way a man does." To get things rolling, why don't you serve coffee and pastries to everyone while the brainstorming groups get organized? I don't get to brainstorm? Yes, you do, but on your own, after lunch, not now, she said. This morning, your job is to support the men's brainstorming groups, for example, by doing internet research or bringing them coffee and to serve lunch when it arrives. Afterwards, you'll have 3 hours to come up with your own ideas from your charmingly feminine point of view, and then the brainstorming groups and you will present your ideas starting at 4 o'clock. That's totally unfair, I said. You're setting me up to fail. Calm down, Lisa, Ms. Folder said. No one expects a cute girl like you to compete seriously with the men. Meanwhile, you'll find the coffee maker and pastries in the break room down the hall. While the men brainstormed their assignment, I made and served them coffee and set out plates of croissants and other pastries on a side table. I stayed busy doing refills and tidying up. The brainstorming groups started giving me orders, mostly to look up data online and send it to them as quickly as possible, but also to keep them well supplied with various forms of caffeine. They kept track of what I was working on. Anyone could look over my shoulder at my screen and loudly demanded that I do their group's tasks first. I couldn't win. A woman I won't name called me a bimbo, and another commented loudly about dumb brunettes instead of blondes. The insults bothered me so much that I actually choked up a bit and had to blink away a tear or two. I never talked about women that way. I wondered if the offsite was basically a way for the women on the team to vent their hostility to men by role-playing. No doubt some of the hostility was deserved, but it was all one way. I didn't dare push back. Was that because my clothing made me feel female, trained from childhood to be passive and polite? That seemed a bit far-fetched, but the pretty things I was wearing seemed to be having that effect. I could hear arguments breaking out in the groups as the morning passed. It seemed as though the women were having no trouble being louder and more aggressive, and I wondered if the absence of real males in the room had something to do with it. Did women behave differently when there were no men around? Being male, I didn't know, and today wasn't a reliable indicator, as Ms. Folder kept reminding the women to behave like men. She stopped to encourage me in my duties once or twice, saying I was doing a good job of being the token female in the room. Before lunch, she escorted me to the restroom and helped me refresh my makeup and perfume. When the food arrived, I made sure everyone got the box lunch they'd ordered and distributed drinks. When they were done, they resumed brainstorming while I cleaned up all the debris of the meal. Only then did Ms. Folder take me aside for a few moments to tell me my afternoon assignment. I want you to prepare a PowerPoint deck proposing a new marketing campaign for Megacorp. We want to promote consumer awareness of Megacorp as a brand that stands for quality, safety, and economy across many industries. Here's what your deck should include. She rattled off a set of bullet points that made her sound like a PowerPoint deck herself. I have 3 hours? I asked. She checked her chunky man's watch, a fake Rolex. A little less, but I'll let you keep working on your deck while the 3 groups are presenting their ideas, so you'll have another 45 minutes or so. Gee, thanks, I said. She didn't seem to hear the sarcasm in my voice. I opened my laptop, fired up PowerPoint, and stared at the blank screen. A new campaign for a company with no real brand identity. What to do? I banged out a title slide, calling my deck a new identity for Megacorp, and started a new slide, titling it What Consumers Want. I set up a list of bullet points and typed in quality, safety, and economy, like Ms. Folder said. I stared at the 3 words for a while and decided to focus on just one: safety. Quality sounded expensive, and economy sounded cheap, contradictory messages. But everyone was in favor of safety. Another slide. Our target audience. I decided to play off my assumed identity for the day, and created one bullet point: women 25 to 49. I thought for a moment and added two more, because they control consumer spending. Because they want to keep their family safe. After a pause, I added another, because we can reach them with a woman's voice. Which literally was nonsense, because my voice wasn't a woman's, but that didn't seem to matter at an offsite where I was the only person in a skirt. I wondered briefly whether the women were wearing panties and bras or just men's underwear, with only a shirt over their naked nipples. Would they be sore afterwards? I checked out Priya, who in addition to being gorgeous had plenty of frontal development. Her posture and the man's jacket she wore made it hard to tell. Shit. I was being sexist. I was supposed to be a woman. Down, boy. Back to power paint. New slide. How we reach our audience. Bullet points, fake book. MeTube. TalkTick. Specialized women's sites with cheap ad inventory, there were dozens, we'd have to stack rank them by efficiency. Cottagecore and tradwife influencers. The Hallmark Channel. Something told me my campaign would resonate in the heartland. The next slide was a fake ad for the campaign. I wrote the message, Megacorp. Our products keep your family safe. I looked at that for a while and decided to make it more personal, we're Megacorp. We keep your family safe. The lawyers would never go for that. We couldn't promise to keep anyone safe. We had to use the weasel word. We're Megacorp. We help keep your family safe. I looked at it again. The problem was the name. Megacorp sounded like a giant soulless corporation that didn't give a damn about your family's safety. So I decided to change the name of the company. Why not? To what? I tried a bunch of names, trying to think of ones that would appeal to women 25 to 49, and typed them into a browser, seeing which ones were already registered. After trying 20 or 30 names that were already taken, I found one that wasn't, Mind Peace. Peace of mind backwards. I replaced Megacorp with Mind Peace, found an image of a mother and child Hispanic, the rising demographic, and slapped together a sample ad, with a URL as a call to action. I added another slide and called it user research. I hadn't done any, obviously. If asked, I would make a joke about business plans created in 3 hours by a guy in a skirt with sagging pantyhose. I made up some fake quotes and, in fine print at the bottom, said these were preliminary findings. Mind peace sounds like what I try to achieve every day of my busy life. Laura L., Cincinnati. I want to be confident that the products I buy are safe for my family. Serena B., Atlanta. I'd be loyal to a company that cares as much about safety as profit. Ramona D., San Diego. I checked the clock. I had an hour left, plus whatever I could do while the other groups presented the ideas they'd had all day to refine. I stood up, stretched in an unladylike way, and found that I needed to pee. Yikes. As a woman? I ducked out of the room into the unisex bathroom. Wearing panties, pantyhose, a slip, and a skirt, I didn't think I could pee standing up, so I pulled all my layers of clothing up or down, sat like a girl, pointed my boy bits downward, and relieved myself. When I was done, it took me a full minute to reassemble my layers of clothing. The pantyhose were a pain to pull back up to my waist. I checked myself in the mirror and was glad I'd brought my handbag, because my lips needed attention again. I was a lipstick rookie, but managed to keep it within the bounds of the lip liner. I added a touch of gloss so that Ms. Folder wouldn't notice it missing, and returned to work. I spent the rest of the hour fleshing out my bullet points as best I could, with no time for looking up real data. When I read through it, I added one more slide at the beginning, a company buy-in for women, with bullet points summarizing the rest of the deck, that women were our natural target, that family safety was the way to appeal to them, and to do that, we needed a female-friendly brand. I squirmed in my seat, acutely aware of what I was wearing. Slinky panties, an unnecessary bra with fake tits, a cute, lace-trimmed slip, and annoying pantyhose that insisted on looking great on my shaved legs, precariously balanced atop 3-inch stilettos. My filmy blouse barely concealed the lace trim of my slip, and my pencil skirt restricted me to short, feminine steps, with my elbows by my sides and my wrists limp, as Ms. Folder had taught me. It was all pretense, but at the moment, I was a woman alone in a room full of apparent men, and though I knew it was silly, I still felt intimidated by their suits and trousers and yes, even their shoes. They could take big steps, they could sit down without exposing their underwear, and their feet didn't hurt. It was totally unfair, but on the other hand, they couldn't enjoy the feel of the layers of nylon that slid over my body, or look as pretty in a mirror as I did, or capture attention merely by crossing my hose-covered legs. With their hair held captive behind their heads, they couldn't toss their tresses to draw attention, as I could. They had their unfair advantages, and I had mine. It felt strange to be a woman, but I didn't hate the feeling. For one thing, I was pretty, and instantly attracted the attention of a roomful of people in men's suits. Was this how it felt for a woman to walk into a bar full of men? No, I decided, because as a man in female drag, I felt no threat of violence from the women in male drag. They were too busy trying to dominate each other to frighten cute little me. At 4 o'clock, Ms. Folder called us all to order, and told the 3 brainstorming groups to go first, me last. Was she deliberately trying to humiliate me? I was totally on my own and had less than half as much time as the men to prepare for this. Well, screw them. Or not. I kept on updating my slides while they presented theirs. I listened to the first group, then the second, and finally the third, and realized that they had all recommended pretty much the same thing. Keep the Megacorp brand. Create videos showing diverse workforces making a variety of products. Target all ages of both sexes. They all used the same logline Megacorp. Quality. Safety. Economy. With minor variations in punctuation. I thought their proposals were predictable, and began to hope that mine would be more interesting. When it was my turn, I called up my PowerPoint file and reminded them that I'd only had 3 hours to work, because as the token female on the team, I'd spent the morning serving and running errands for them. Have a Danish before we start, I said. I ran through my slides quickly. I knew better than to just stand there and read words they could see for themselves until I got to the big changes. The slides where I talked about changing Megacorp's name to Mind Peace, targeting women in their child-rearing years, and focusing our message on safety, not the conflicting goals of quality and economy. I could practically hear their brains grappling with the new ideas, but no one dared to react until Ms. Folder did. Fascinating, Lisa, she said. I love the idea of turning Megacorp from a faceless holding company into a brand that stands for your family's safety. These ideas are the most original I've seen today, and they came from one person in just a few hours. Maybe that's because while the rest of you were arguing like men, Lisa, appropriately attired in luscious lingerie under her cute little skirt, blouse, and heels, was able to reimagine the company through a woman's eyes. It's compelling enough that I might need to have a conversation with my boss about exploring it in real life. It was interesting to see how her words affected the rest of the marketing staff, all looking the same in their men's suits and ties. They seemed to feel obliged to agree with her, but I could tell they were totally jealous of the impression I'd made. Was this what women meant when they talked about having frenemies? Did they compete with each other in ways that men didn't? Or was it that they continued to compete with each other forever, while men would settle on a hierarchy? I knew I could never understand how females lived or thought. But as a pretend woman for one day, I'd tackled a hard problem from a feminine point of view, and it was resonating with the woman I most needed to impress. Ms. Folder ended the formal program a few minutes early, and a few of the women hurried off to change back into their normal clothing. But most of them hung around to interrogate me about what it was like to be dressed and made up as a woman. First, I said, tell me what it was like to be dressed like men. The ladies looked at each other. Sophie shrugged. Well, we wear trousers all the time, so it's not all that different. Boxer shorts are just ugly tap pants, the fabrics are heavier and stiffer, nothing stretches, everything buttons backwards, everything fits more loosely, and the shoes are more comfortable. That's for sure, I said, and slipped my stocking feet out of my heels, getting a laugh. Now tell us how it felt to be a woman for a day, Priya said. Uncomfortable, I said. They laughed. Uncomfortable physically or mentally? Sophie asked. Both, I said. I mean, they're totally embarrassing for a man to wear. They're completely different from men's clothes. The panties are skimpier than men's briefs, and the pantyhose seem to be designed to make it hard to go to the bathroom. The bra is weird and uncomfortable. The slip is another thing men don't wear, but the slippery fabric feels kind of nice. The blouse is just a flimsy, frilly shirt that buttons backwards. The skirt is nothing like what men wear. It feels strange to wear a thing like a tube so tight that it restricts my steps and so short that it shows most of my legs. The high heels hurt, and so do these earrings. Women's clothes are sexier than men's, but they're not as comfortable or easy to wear. Amen, sister. Sophie said. Earrings don't hurt if you get your ears pierced, Priya said. What about makeup and nails? Ms. Folder asked. Oh, God, I can't believe women bother with all that every day. There must be a dozen different things you have to buy to do your face and skin, plus nail polish and remover, plus hair products and hairstyles, and almost all of it's stuff that guys don't use. What a hassle! I'm glad I'm a man. You don't look at all like a man at the moment, Priya said. I think you're totes adorbs. Murmurs of agreement. I felt myself blush. You definitely look better as a woman than as a man, Sophie said. More murmurs. More blush. Wait, I already was wearing blush. Could they tell? Were my cheeks pinker, or did the foundation, powder, and blush cover them up? There aren't many men who could look this good dressed as a woman, Ms. Folder said. Nods and murmurs. In retrospect, she said, I'm almost glad the other guys refused to come. They wouldn't have shaved their legs. They would probably have refused to wear lingerie and hose. I doubt they could have put themselves in the feminine mindset that Lisa achieved. There will be consequences for them. But I'm very happy with Lisa's contributions today, not just her original thinking, but all the usually overlooked feminine labor of fetching drinks, serving food, and running errands for the rest of us. She started clapping, and most of the women joined in the applause. It was humiliating to be called Lisa, but her praise made me feel good, and lessened the day-long embarrassment I'd felt about being exposed in women's clothes. At least no one saw me but the women in the room. Imagine having to dress like this back at our usual office. Even though I liked the feeling of a slinky nightgown, I'd never dreamed of dressing up this completely, so in a secret sense, today had been an over-the-top mixed experience of humiliation and stimulation. I was semi-stiff in my panties, and I knew what I was going to do as soon as I got home. Where I lived alone, I'd never really had a romantic relationship. Tell you what, ladies, Ms. Folder said. I think this offsite was enough of a success to be worth celebrating. When you finish changing clothes, let's join happy hour at Purple. The first round's on me, and if you're driving, that's probably all you'll need, now that you're about to become ladies again. I started to leave the room to change clothes in the unisex restroom, but Ms. Folder stopped me. Hold on, Lisa. I think you should come to the restaurant as you are. You mean, dressed like this? Why not? The other women will be dressed like you, and they like to see you that way, and they'll be more relaxed around Lisa than they would be around Louis. Come have a drink and gossip with us girls before you have to return to dreary reality as a boy. I'm not sure I want to go out in public in drag. You don't look the slightest like a drag queen. You look like a typical office worker. You won't stand out in our crowd. Well, okay. I'd survived a day-long ordeal in secretary drag. I might as well take an hour to relax and enjoy the feeling of my slip sliding over my pantied butt. I would be safe surrounded by so many other women, if I thought of myself as one of them. Most of the team, including me, followed Ms. Folder to Purple, an upscale fern bar in a nearby shopping center. They shoved 2 tables together to hold the 12 of us. I remembered to smooth my skirt under me before I sat. The waitress audibly sighed with relief when the boss lady said it'd be 1 check. The ladies ordered a variety of mixed drinks. I was about to order a single malt scotch when Ms. Folder interrupted to say that Lisa would have a Cosmo. I had to ask what it was. The waitress said it was a Cosmopolitan, a vodka cocktail that someone named Carrie drank on an old TV series called Sex and the City, which I'd never seen. I nodded, not wanting to insist on a manly drink in a manly voice. The Cosmo turned out to be a girly pink drink in a martini glass: vodka, triple sec, cranberry juice, and lime juice, the waitress said. It was mostly sweet, a touch sour, and went down quite smoothly, though I could tell it was strong, somewhere between sherry and whiskey. One of these would be plenty for me. I sipped it as the others gossiped about the women who weren't there and talked trash about the men who hadn't shown up, which led the conversation back to me. I hoped other patrons in the noisy restaurant weren't listening. I'd rather work with Lisa than Louis, Priya said. Can we keep her like this? I love that idea, Sophie said. Other women chimed in to support the notion, but Ms. Folder curbed their enthusiasm. Sorry, ladies, but the off-site's over. Louis will be back in his usual clothes tomorrow, no wig, no makeup, and we need to remove his nail polish tonight. He's been a good sport as Lisa, but no, we can't keep him in skirts. Some of the women moaned. Why not? Asked Priya. The other men would harass him mercilessly, Ms. Folder said. Maybe even beat him up. She turned to me. I've got nail polish remover in my purse. Come with me to the ladies and we'll clean you up. When we returned to the table, Ms. Folder paid the tab and the women gave each other farewell hugs and air kisses, including me. I drove home safely, stripped off my female clothing, cleaned the makeup off my face, and slept in a nightgown. Things took a different turn at work the next day. I wore a man's suit and so did almost all the women in marketing. They came with their men's costumes not on hangers, but on their bodies. They dressed much as they had for the off-site, except that they wore their usual heels. None of them said anything about it, but I took it as a sign that they wanted me to see me in skirts again. Ms. Folder wore her usual power skirt suit and heels, and seemed taken aback by the marketing women's show of support for the messages that someone scrawled on all the white boards in meeting rooms: cross-dress for success, in some, mind peace in others. Perhaps wisely, Ms. Folder chose not to notice or respond. A day later, maybe half the marketing women dressed as men. The day after that, they were all back in their usual clothes, but complaining more volubly than usual about the annoyances of bras, pantyhose, and heels. I completely agreed with them, but like Ms. Folder, I tried to ignore their show of support for the return of Lisa. I didn't want to make anyone suspect I secretly enjoyed dressing as a woman. However, I could not ignore the day when Ms. Folder called into her office, one by one, the 4 men who'd boycotted the cross-dress for success. Off-site. They emerged shaken, angry, and unwilling to talk, except for Dave, who would say only, "We've been fired." All of the men, except little Miss Louis over there. I didn't respond to his insult. The last thing I wanted to do was start an argument about how I'd worn a skirt to save my job. I didn't feel proud of myself, just surprised that Ms. Folder had axed them all for skipping the offsite. Maybe management or the DEI staff had decided to make examples of them so that male employees would be afraid to boycott the cross-dress for success offsite when it was their department's turn. It didn't escape anyone's attention when Ms. Folder promptly replaced all the terminated men with women. Marketing was an all-female department now, except for me. As a result of the DEI offsite, our department now had less diversity than before. I felt more awkward than I had when the other men were around, possibly because some of the women, starting with Sophie and Priya, started calling me Lisa instead of Louis. I complained to them and got nowhere. I complained to Ms. Folder, who spoke to them about it. They responded by calling me Lisa, I mean Louis, pretending to apologize every time they used my feminine name. The rest of the women, including the new hires, seemed to be amused by this, and gradually more of them were calling me Lisa, I mean Louis. Ms. Folder chided them at a team meeting, but soon no one in marketing was calling me by my real name. As an alternative, they occasionally would call me Ms. Logan, which was my last name, but not my title. Ms. Folder pretty much gave up on policing their speech, and my colleagues resumed calling me Lisa without the apologies, and I was kind of fed up with things in general, when one Friday afternoon, the HR chief called me into her office and told me to close the door. "I have an interesting proposition for you, Louis," she said. "I met the other day with Danielle Boone, the CEO, to discuss the ideas you presented at the Crossdress for Success offsite. She was extremely interested in some of the concepts, and is going to form a committee on the board of directors to investigate the idea of renaming the company and turning it into an emblem of consumer safety." "Wow," I said. "That's great. What are we actually going to do to make our products safer?" "Oh, I have no idea," she said. "That's up to operations. I assume they'll do something. Or maybe our products are already safe. For our purposes, it doesn't really matter, because the campaign won't need to be specific. We can use a soft focus image of a mother cuddling her child, with a 6-word message: "We help keep your family safe." That's straight from my slide deck. I said. "Yes, and I gave you all the credit, practically all the credit for it," she said. I added the obvious idea of placing a mind piece logo on all the products sold by the companies we own. Well, all the consumer-facing products. We won't use it on our fracking equipment. Fracking equipment? We own a lot of different businesses, Louis. But I digress. Ms. Boone is adding a seat to the board, an employee representative, a board member who actually works for the company and isn't an executive. I mentioned your name, and she said you'd be perfect. I gaped at her. This was crazy. What? You mean I'd be on the board of directors? As the employee representative. With the same benefits the other directors get. If you accept the offer, your paycheck will be in the mid-6 figures. Oh my God! Of course I'll accept. I'd be crazy not to. There's a catch, she said. What is it? The offer won't be made to Mr. Louis Logan. The offer will be made to Ms. Lisa Logan. What? You mean? Yes. You'd have to accept the offer as a woman and become Lisa full-time. Shock. I couldn't. But I'd just done it, hadn't I? If only for a day. And the money. Oh my God. Why? Your feminine identity at the offsite helped you spawn an idea that could be worth tens or even hundreds of millions to the company in the long run. Ms. Boone wants to retain and train Ms. Lisa Logan for bigger and better things within the company. You've got to be kidding. I said. Not at all. Your combination of male and female traits is a unique and valuable corporate asset. Remember the proposals the 3 brainstorming groups had at the offsite? Total male-type groupthink inside the box. You thought outside the box, that is, Lisa thought outside the box. It's Lisa she wants on the board, not Louis. So I'll have to dress as Lisa all the time at work now? I'm afraid so, she said. The good news is, on $500,000 a year, you'll be able to afford lots of nice clothes. As a director, you'll need to start attending formal events. Long dresses. Designer labels. Your standard of living is going to take a big jump, my dear, as will the height of your heels. Who knows? I may end up working for you one day. I can't believe this is happening. Aren't you jealous of me? Of course I'm jealous of you. Insanely jealous. Any woman would be. But I didn't come up with the idea of mind peace. I didn't say, let's target women in their childbearing years. I didn't say, let's become the brand for consumer safety. You did. You took the risk, and you're about to reap the rewards. But if I'm an employee representative, that means I'll still be working in marketing, right? On paper, yes, but don't plan on attending any more Monday morning planning meetings with Debbie Ditz. You'll have bigger fish to fry. Wonderful. Everyone hated Monday morning planning meetings. How soon do I need to? I mean, start dressing as a woman again? Wear your Lisa outfit to work tomorrow. It'll delight the marketing ladies. You and I will take the afternoon off to shop for your new business wardrobe. I can see you in a royal blue office dress. Are you sure? What if Ms. Boone doesn't offer me the position? No worries. Not only does she want you, but she's gotten a majority of the directors to agree. Mind peace. It's a powerful concept. And, if I may say so, a thoroughly feminine one. Wow. Thank you so much, Ms. Folder, for somehow giving me this chance. I promise I'll do my best to justify the company's trust. Even if it means wearing a royal blue dress. You're very welcome. Thank you for making me look good to the CEO. And enough of this Ms. Folder nonsense. Call me Manila and I'll call you Lisa from now on. I might as well get used to it. Manila, I said. Wonderful, Lisa, she said. She took a step closer. Please don't forget those of us you passed on the way to the top. She leaned over and kissed me on the lips. Don't worry, I'll never forget the day you turned me into Lisa. I returned her kiss. She smiled. Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.